Stranger Things 4. If you don't like 80s pop, you better start, because this season is awesome, and you cannot watch it without getting that goddamn song stuck in your head. More on that later. So this top 10s list has no real strict criteria, just basically, it's my list, I do what I want. So, yeah, top 10 favorite things, top 10 least favorite things, or annoying things, or things. It's my list, I do what I want, so take it or leave it. Number 10, Steve's Little Nuggets. It sounds weird to say it out loud like that. Steve's Six Little Nuggets, not so much referring to the scene with the Six Little Nuggets conversation. I mean, as cute as that was, and I'll touch more on that and that subject matter later, but what I mean is more of just Steve interacting with the kids in general, because that is always a delight. Of course, it started with him and Dustin, and that is the ultimate Steve duo pairing. I mean, I don't think anyone can deny that. Even though he gets a little bit... Steve is a little bit bored of that duo this season, but I don't think he'd trade Dustin for anything. I mean, I do think there's definitely a teensy bit of jealousy with how much Dustin likes Eddie. In a totally non-creepy way. I know a lot of people like to pervert things, okay? This is just... Dustin doesn't have a father figure, and even though Steve is, only, 4-ish? Maybe a little bit more years older than him. Steve's really the only older male influence that Dustin has, and it's cute, it's wholesome, we love it. And I definitely love his interactions with Max this season. I mean, even though he says, I'm always the goddamn babysitter, he does definitely have this sort of fraternal instinct to protect these kids, and I love seeing him, trying to protect Max. I mean, he doesn't know Max all that well, but, she's younger, and she's Dustin's friend, and Nancy told him to do it, so, it's the right thing to do. So he automatically tries to protect Max from anything, and she's just not having it. I'm not spending what might be the last day of my life in the armpit that is Mike Wheeler's basement. And then threatening to call a lawyer on Steve, and he is basically coerced into taking her around town while he's trying to protect her, and just every moment that Steve is on screen interacting with one of the kids is just an award-worthy moment. I just absolutely love it. Number 9, Elle's plot arc this season. I know some people had some criticisms about Elle's story this season, and questioning what happened with her at the beginning of this season. Personally, I think it makes a lot of sense for, the way that she lied to Mike about being so happy here, about being so happy in California, and I mean, when you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. I know that everyone is saying, well, she should have known better, she should have known that, no matter what happened, Mike would still love her and all that, but, this is the mind of a 15-year-old girl, and it's only natural for her to want to fit in, especially her, because she's never fit in. All she wants is to be a normal teenager, and she's never been a normal child, because frankly, she never had a childhood. And it's only natural for her to want to be accepted, and to want to be happy, and to be, everyone else, and to want Mike to look up to her and to... It's more... The words that I can think of is she wants to look cool to Mike, and that is true, but it's deeper than that. Like, I can't find the words to deeper express that, but it really makes sense to me, and the fact that they're both worried about the exact same thing. They're both worried that they're not good enough, and that, eventually each other is going to realize that they're not good enough for whatever reason, and that they're going to lose each other because they're, not cool enough, or not important enough, or strong enough, or whatever. Some people are thinking that their relationship is on rocky terms now. I don't see that whatsoever. I mean, even though they didn't get a final scene where they get to kind of reconcile all of that, the Mike's speech scene to her, I think, completely shows how much their relationship is not on the rocks. And I definitely think that final scene and what has happened to them through the season and in seasons prior has only strengthened them. I mean, the fact that their relationship is not all puppy dog, rainbow kisses, and cutesiness proves that this is more than just puppy love. This is Pandora. Hey, do not knock over my tripod. Pandora, don't you do it. Dora, you are a stinker. What are you doing? Did you know that you're a stinker? You're a fluffy stinker. Cute stinker. That's why no one can ever stay mad at you, huh? Oh, you're so cute. What was I saying? Enjoyed seeing, it sounds weird to say I enjoyed seeing Elle experience, I enjoyed seeing her confront some of her insecurities this season, because I think that's important for her character. And I definitely enjoyed seeing her, work through some insecurities with Mike and in that relationship. I definitely think they need some more, constructive one-on-one, actually talking to each other about these sort of things, but there just wasn't time for that in this season. I also really enjoyed seeing her come face-to-face with Papa again, and ultimately realizing that it wasn't really her fault that she opened the gate, that, some of the things that she's done, some of the things that she really hates about herself are that she has a lot of internal blame for things that have happened, and realizing that there's a lot of stuff that wasn't in her control because of the way she was raised as basically a lab rat, and that she doesn't owe this man anything, and that, there's a part of her that is always going to feel some sort of attachment to him because, in real life, kids who are abused, often no matter how badly, there's always a part of them that loves their parents and wants to be loved by them. And seeing her start to come into her own and realize that, that part, that connection is always going to be there, but she doesn't owe him anything, and that it's okay to feel some hatred towards him and to just let him go, because this is not her responsibility. This is, these were his choices, and ultimately I think we see her come to the conclusion that she wants to move on from this. She can finally let go of her, well, not completely let go, because that trauma of living in the lab is always going to be there, but she can start to move on and grow from that experience. I mean, I love the power of that final scene where he's laying in the sand and he's like, please tell me you understand, I always loved you, blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, goodbye, and walks away, and I think that's a massive character building moment for her, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, it seems cold, but look what the bastard did. I mean, she owes this man nothing, and it's healthy for her to realize that. Number 8, The Rift, referring to the scene where all of the gates converge and open up in Hawkins. I am a bit of an action nerd, and I love scenes that take, just spectacular visuals and combine it with, the cinematic music, and just, there's this thing that I call the spot, and if you are the same way as I am about cinema and, movies, TV shows, you know what the spot is. It's that when everything, a moment in film, a scene is just right, and it hits you right here, and you just get this feeling like, oh yes, and that scene did that for me. Just the CGI, the visuals were incredible, and the audio, the ticking, and all that, and the chimes, and how it just all converges together in downtown Hawkins, and just poof, and I love that scene. It hit that spot. I've also never seen anything quite that big of that scale happen in this show before, and I think it was a really great way to end the season. Number 7, Elle and the Byers family becoming like this little mixed family. Something about that just touches me on a personal level. I just think it's adorable, and, Joyce has always had this, Joyce has a strong maternal instinct and would protect any child, but, she's always had this sort of maternal outlook for Elle because, she saw this little girl in danger and wanted to protect her, and having her become a surrogate mother to her was just so wholesome, and I think, it was inevitable. It was meant to happen this way, and I suspect that, in moments we didn't see, for when Joyce found out that she was still alive and living with Hopper, I definitely imagine that she would have been intermittently involved with her in a sort of maternal role, because, there's some things that Hopper would just overturn to Joyce. There's no way that Hopper had a period and sex talk with Elle. He would have bribed Joyce and pleaded Joyce to do that. So, and it's important for her to have a maternal figure. And I think it was adorable. And also, having Will and Jonathan be her brothers of sorts, I really hope that conflict with Will isn't going to sort of ruin his sibling relationship with Elle. I don't think it will. I really hope it doesn't. But they clearly have a strong bond, and seeing as it was Elle who, saved him from the Upside Down, it's great to see them bond together, and they both have experiences that, no one else can really relate to, because they haven't been through anything like that. So seeing how much Will does care about Elle, and how they've formed this sibling-like bond, is just so adorable, and this is a really geeky moment, But thinking the fact that they're enrolled in this school, likely as twins, is just such... It just gives me this little warm and tingly feeling, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling they might have dyed her hair and purposely cut it to look like Joyce's, because that didn't look like Elle's natural hair color to me, and, you know, she looks like she's supposed to be a part of their family, and it gives me the cute little fangirly tinglies. So, number 6, Robin is the most relatable character in the entire universe. I mean, I guess that will vary from person to person, but for me, oh my god, I mean, Robin is me, basically. I mean, Robin is probably a little braver and a little more badass than I am, but she is just so relatable as a character. I mean, you know, there's so many scenes from Robin that you can take and just be like, that is a relatable meme, definitely. I mean,
I don't have a license. Why don't you have a license? I'm poor.
Yep. I liked seeing her interact with Nancy, and, you know, seeing, like, if I say something that offends you, I want to let you know that I know it's a problem. My mother tells me daily, and I relate to that so much because I have social anxiety, and I am constantly terrified that I'm going to say the wrong thing, which I'm so overcautious that it ends up coming off as rude or awkward, and sometimes I'm so overcautious about saying the wrong thing that I end up saying the wrong thing, and, you know, like, I just want to give Robin a hug because I understand her on such a personal level, and it is really great to see a lot of these aspects that I struggle with in real life portrayed in a character that isn't just there for comic relief and isn't just like this sissy character that runs away from danger. I mean, Robin is a genuine badass, and I don't know if I would be as brave as her. I would probably be the one who ran away as a sissy with my tail between my legs, but to see someone on screen who's a strong female character have the same problems that I do, I really enjoyed seeing that. Number 5 is Max's character development. So one thing that I was a little bit confused about last season was how upset she was about everything that was happening to Billy. I mean, it does make sense because, you know, no matter how much he hates her, they've gone through a reasonable chunk of life together, and they are technically family, so it does make sense. But there was part of me going, like, this guy is, at best, a royal dick to her on a daily basis. At worst, he's straight up abusive and needs to be removed from the home because he is abusing a minor. So, you know, I was thinking, like, we need to kind of touch on that with Max because it doesn't quite make sense. And they did this season, and I really liked seeing that. I mean, you know, seeing her struggle through that feeling and come to terms with it in the end, like, you know, she does have this part of her that cares for Billy, but there's also this big part of her that has been abused by him and just hates him for it, and, you know, that at one point just wish that he would just be gone, you know, sort of fantasizing that he would die just because she can't stand him being in her life anymore, and coming to terms with how much having those feelings made her hate herself. And in the end, I think she's able to process those feelings, and that, you know, Duffer Brothers willing, she gets to wake up and overcome that and move on from that in her life. You know, it was something great to see, because it's not, I haven't seen that a whole lot in film, having a character that really hasn't done anything wrong, that is really truly good and pure, acknowledge having these really dark feelings, and, you know, to a point of wishing that someone would die just so she wouldn't have to deal with their abuse anymore. And that's something I can connect with on a personal level, because I have had moments like that. I was, you know, I'm still struggling with this today. I was, you know, daily abused by teachers in my Catholic elementary school, and I'm 22 now, it's taken me almost a decade to come to terms with the fact that what happened was indeed abuse, and to come to terms with the fact that wanting them to just be gone so I wouldn't have to deal with them anymore doesn't make me a terrible person. So I really connect with Max's story this season. And I'm also that girl who lives connected to her headphones. I mean, my music is a lot different from hers, and my headphones look a lot different because this is not the 80s, but seeing Max walk through the hallways of her high school just sort of zoned out in her own world with her music, trying to cope with everything, that was me. To an extent, that's still me, only I'm a tidbit more mentally healthy now than I was in high school. I mean, like, I know I'm not the only one who credits a certain band or certain music for saving my life, and I need to take a drink. Because I sound like I'm cracking up, and I'm not cracking up. I've just been talking too much, because I do that. Yeah, I was that person who, and I still think that, you know, like, without music, like, Evanescence was that big band for me that their music helped me get through a lot of things, and their music spoke to me and helped me overcome things and to cope with things that, you know, obviously that can't be the only thing you do, and I think that, you know, we see some of that in Max this season, that, you know, she's not really taking the help from the counselor, and it doesn't help. It really doesn't help that Max can't actually say anything that actually happened to the counselor, or else she'd get locked up in the loony bin. But, you know, she's trying to internalize it all, and that's not quite healthy, but seeing that feeling of having music save your life taken into a literal sense in a plot, I really liked that, and I connected with that on a personal level. I mean, pop is not my genre, so having Running Up That Hill stuck in my head constantly because I can't stop watching season 4 is a little bit grating on me. I do like the way they used it in the season, but it is not my song, and it's just, it drives me a little bit loony sometimes, but I did enjoy that part of Max's story arc this season. Number 4 is Mike's speech to Elle when she is fighting Vecna from the pizza dough freezer. I'm sorry, I love that scene, just...
I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer.
What?
Probably, you know, probably some of the best lines that came out of this season, honestly. Anyways, so... I mean, I feel like there's been a lack of love for Mike and Elle's relationship in the recent events in the fandom. I'm always going to love them because they, you know, from season 1, they just hooked into my heart, a little special little place in my heart. And, they are really young, but I think that they have a genuine connection that can go the distance. It definitely is not a common thing, but with everything they've been through, and they are not normal kids, and I love their relationship, and I think the Duffers have done a great job portraying their relationship and adding some realism to it. Because of the hardships they've gone through, they have something special that goes beyond the bounds of normal teenage love. But at the same time, we still see them being normal teenagers and having normal teenage fights, and I love everything about them. Anyways, I really loved this moment because we saw last season that, Mike struggles with being completely honest about his feelings for her, and he's scared because of how much he loves her. And seeing him just come all out about that this season, and just this beautiful speech, beautiful, inspiring speech that came right from his heart. This scene had me in tears for obvious reasons, and, ultimately having that reassurance and encouragement from Mike is what gave Elle the strength to fight forward. And I know some people have some problems with that, like, so what, a minute ago she was down and out for the count, but now Mike says I love you, and so, all of a sudden she has the power, and I don't see it that way. I mean, I liked that perspective of, I think it's something that is realistic and can happen in real life too. I mean, you hear stories about people who have gone through some terrible accident and are on the brink of death, and the only thing that saved them was someone nearby telling them, like, you can do this, you can stay alive, and the only thing that gave them the will and the strength to cling on to life until they got to safety and got to help was this person telling them and talking to them and, telling them, keep fighting, keep going, and without that, they are sure they would have died. So, I absolutely loved that moment, and I don't think it's cheesy or unrealistic or made no sense. I really love that scene. I mean, I know that some people are taking issue with Mike. I mean, I could do a whole nother video with that. Personally, I don't see where all the strong criticism is coming from, because I think, I think the show is great with having all of their characters show faults. None of their characters are perfect. And, I think when Mike is wrong and does something, he makes amends for it. I mean, you see him, he has a heart-to-heart with Will, and obviously things are complicated between him and Will for reasons I will talk about later. But, what Will says is true. Mike is the heart of the group, and he has a massive heart. And, I think seeing him fully come to terms with how much he loves Elle and putting that out there for her is just, it really shows his character, and I think that Elle also really needed that. So I love the way that scene sort of wrapped up their character, their relationship, and their characters this season. Number 3 is another one of those smaller, more isolated moments, but I really, really liked seeing Max and Elle protect each other. I mean, I absolutely adored their friendship in season 3, and I'm glad we see it extending through into this season, even though they were separated geographically. I mean, seeing how worried Elle is about Max. As much as I love her relationship with Mike, I love that she, also, that's not her only thing. And some people are saying that, Mike and Elle's only character points is that they love each other and they want to be together, and that's just not true. So I definitely love seeing how worried Elle is about Max and her other friends, and how enraged she gets when Vecna hurts Max. And, seeing Max, even though she really has nothing to go on, but seeing her just become enraged and grab a piece of wood and run at Vecna and try to take him out when he's attacking Elle and getting flown to the side like a rag doll, it's just, that hit me with so much emotional force, and I absolutely love it. And seeing, we don't know exactly what is going to happen to Max, but seeing how distraught it makes Elle in the end, when, she goes to try and find Max in the void, but can't find her, and we don't know why that is, and she doesn't know why that is either, and how much turmoil she's in, that she couldn't, she saved Max, but in a way she also didn't. And that is going to traumatize her for the rest of her life, whether Max ends up waking up or not. And I love everything about their friendship, so yeah, I really, really liked that moment between them. Number 2, Master of Puppets scene. As I already said, I'm a big buff for cinematic things that are, grand scenes with great visuals that incorporate music into it to just create that, to hit that spot. And this scene definitely did that for me. My music is rock to heavy metal, so I definitely liked seeing that used here, and I think they did it in a really good way. I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't be used well, and that it would be a little bit corny, or, just, sometimes you can take cool songs and put them over a scene, and it's just music over top of a scene, but they actually incorporated the song to make it work well, and I think it really makes the scene work well. It goes with what's happening, and, it speaks on sort of a metaphorical level, like the whole thing of Master of Puppets, and that's basically what Vecna is doing, so yeah, it fit really well. Having Eddie actually play it on guitar was a great moment, and I absolutely love seeing him with Dustin up there, and Dustin's just, yeah!
Most metal ever!
Dustin is just wholesome. He is a living antidepressant, yeah. I absolutely love that scene, and it's definitely a highlight, and I can't help but just watch it whenever it happens. Like, I'll put on season 4 in the background of when I'm just doing something, but when that scene comes on, I stop and watch it intensely, and I love it. Number 1 is, as much as I'm annoyed by the song sometimes, it is the running up that hill scenes. I can't decide which one I like more. I think a lot of people like the first one better. That takes place in the episode Dear Billy. I think I'm leaning more towards that one. They use the song really well. It wasn't just a song over top of a scene. It worked well. They incorporated it into the scene. It helped build up the scene and make it more emotionally impactful. And the visuals of those scenes were just amazing. I definitely love that in the later scene in the final, how they incorporate the song into a remastered version of the Stranger Things theme song. I love the way that they tied that all together. It really made for a great feel to the scene, and you can't not love Nancy with the shot off. English is hard. You can't not love Nancy with the sawed-off shotgun. Just, that was an amazing moment. I think I definitely lean towards the Dear Billy scene for being the better of the two that used the song, based mostly on the fact that it was one solid scene and it wasn't jumping between different scenes, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing for the finale scene that uses the song, but just the whole one scene in Dear Billy and Sadie Sink's performance, I think really makes that one the better of the two in my opinion. I'm still kind of on the fence, but yeah, I definitely love that scene. The music was definitely used well, and it hit that spot for me.